Hello guys, it's me MP back with another video. I've been thinking about things recently and I came to the conclusion that I can try some semi-simple, but at the same time semi-complicated power scaling videos. I'm trying to be more active than usual because I need to get as many videos done. And today is a very special video. This time it's a power scaling video on who would win between G21 and G14. The main reason I am making this video is because some people somehow think that G21, just by being only a little weaker than G19, means he loses to G14. So I thought of explaining why this is very much untrue. I am also making this video because apparently my full-on G21 video is going to take a long-ass time to make. So to maintain activity, I decided to make this video until the G21 video comes out. And trust me, when my complete G21 video is out, you will blow your mind. I am making this video because I thought it would keep my channel alive. But with all that said, please enjoy the video, people. Godzilla 2021 versus Godzilla 2014 has been a debate since around 2022. Many people have been conflicted on who is stronger. Other people said G21 wins, while others said G14 wins. It's been a debate that has been conflicting the power scaling community for a long time now, so I thought of giving my opinion on this topic. There have been a lot of arguments made for both sides, so I thought of why not try to go more in depth on who is stronger between G21 and G14. For the beginning G21, there has been some debate on whether he's stronger than his 2019 self or weaker than his 2019 self. Hell, some have even placed G21 above Nukeamed Godzilla, which to put it simply is retarded, and I repeat, retarded. The arguments are mostly some VFX statements and some misinterpreted statements from the novel too. Similarly, there is an opposing side who somehow think G21 is noticeably weakened and is around 50% at the start of GVK, which is also just stupid. Their basis would be the statement that G21 was half-rested after the events of Dominion, and like the readings off the chart statement, this is also misinterpreted and a terrible argument too. So there are two very main opinions on G21 scaling. One of them is that he's stronger than base G19, and some even stretch it to be stronger than Nukeamed Godzilla. The other one is that he is weaker than G19 by 2 times. So for the arguments people use to argue G21 is stronger than G19, they're mostly using the VFX statements to argue he is stronger. The main argument would be that there are statements saying G21's atomic breath is more intense than G19's.
I think that's kind of like the evolution he has. He has a different biolume, like I was mentioning, biolume signature, where in this movie, because his atomic breath is so intense, in the previous movie, he used it more as a very short distance, right? And because in this movie he's using it like to drill in the ground, and so you see a lot more of his internal glowing. So we build like a skeleton and a vein system. I think that was shared with the scanline as well. It's, the MPC was the designer of the Godzilla as we know it right now. I think it was 2014, the Gareth Edwards one. So I think in that movie we were kind of like introducing the look for the atomic beam, right? And his surge, he gets that biolume look. And then in the what's the one after Godzilla King of Monsters, then he had some different levels of biolume. So I think for our movie, what we do is like, well, because the resolution was much higher than the previous movie, it was close to 4K. So we always try to keep the asset up to date. So we're using like the latest muscle system, and the latest the texture work. We've redone like the close-up for the eyes and stuff like this. So the asset always gets improved, We also, for this movie, we reworked the atomic beam. Looks quite different because we had to do shots where Kong is super far away. So he's using his beam less of a blast, but it's more like a sniper, right? So it has more of like a laser core. So I thought that, for scale and for accuracy, The look of the beam should be more precise, less fiery, a bit more like plasma. So that's something that we rework quite a bit.
However, there is an issue with those statements. For one, it was directly stated they made the atomic breath look more intense because they wanted it to look more like a laser than a flamethrower. It does not say anything about his atomic breath being stronger. It's just for visual aesthetics. They simply wanted to make him look more intimidating. This is why they say his biolum signature or color is so intense instead of saying it's more intense. The intimidation factor is why the beam is what the VFX team is referring to as being so intense as they changed the beam to make it fit what the director wanted to fit for Godzilla. It just talks about how they wanted the beam to look rather than saying it conveys actual power. This is consistent, as in the same interview, they bring up G14's beam looking more like a flamethrower than a laser, which the VFX supervisor for GVK worked on the 2014 film himself as part of the VFX team. So to put it simply, this was just a choice for aesthetics and not power. His atomic breath being brighter means absolutely nothing, because by that logic, G14 should be above G19 and G24, because his atomic breath is noticeably whiter, but we know it was directly stated G19 is above G14. So the brighter atomic breath argument already falls apart.
I still think he's the same Godzilla. He hasn't changed much, but the super fans will probably notice the small incremental changes we've made just to sort of make him look a little tougher, because the Mutos were a tough enemy. That was just him warming up. That was Godzilla stretching. Like, this time he's really got an enemy to face, and he's bulked up a little bit for it as well.
Plus, not only that, but the more concentrated atomic breath argument does not work either. Base G19's atomic breath actually looks more concentrated than nuke-amped G19's atomic breath. So unless you somehow foolishly think base G19 is above nuke-amped G19, the more concentrated atomic breath argument already falls apart. Not only that, but G19 at the end of KOTM already somehow has a more concentrated atomic breath than his base and nuke-amped self. So we already know how meaningless visual statements are. It's either just aesthetics or anything not related to power. Also, no, the whole Godzilla didn't beat Kong, it's just visuals is a terrible debunk. This is comparing a fight to the looks of a kaiju's energy attack. It doesn't work at all. No hate towards Devin Louis, of course, because he has a lot of good takes too. Not only that, but a lot of people love to use the readings off the chart statement to argue that he is stronger than Nuke Amped, as well as the unprecedented radiation bullshit statement too. The readings off the chart statement uses the term chart not charts. This means that they just can't get his readings, not that it exceeds Nuke Amped's. Plus, why are we using sonar detection as a notion of power level? They detected his energy readings, not him. He was not referred to as being the cause before the radiation reading statement. The only thing stated beforehand is something big appearing on radar and disappearing, with the radiation statement being an immediate reaction from the people at the monitors. If anything, thinking this statement refers to Godzilla's readings being off the charts when he's not even referred to as being the cause till after the statement is headcanon. No shit, the readings in an area Godzilla hasn't patrolled are going to be higher when he does come into that area for the first time. It doesn't mean that they are saying G21 has higher readings than G19. Whenever Monarch makes a comparison with Godzilla's energy readings, they specify past events to compare them to his current state, like we see with GXK. They state energized Godzilla's power, but state after that it hasn't hit that level of power he was at when in Boston. They also do this with supercharged evolved Godzilla, when they say his power is higher than anything they have measured, meaning that it has surpassed that benchmark Godzilla was in during Boston when he was supercharged. Plus, even nuke-amped Godzilla has statements of having unusually high readings, so this already blows the argument apart. It's literally stated his radiation in Boston is going off the roof. And also, they knew it was Godzilla in Boston, obviously, but they didn't know the sonar was from Godzilla. Please come up with a better argument if you want to keep believing G21 is above base G19 or even nuke-amped G19. Now, what about the evolution argument? This argument comes from some statements, and it's so bad it should not even be worth considering. While Godzilla does evolve, you would have to first define what evolution would be for Godzilla in any context, whether it be power, skill, or intelligence. We know Godzilla trains and gets more skilled, but Godzilla had no major changes to his body from KOTM to GVK, aside from an improved internal and vascular system that is specified just to show him off during the Hollow Earth drill, and how Mechagodzilla's attacks function when they strike Godzilla with Hollow Earth energy, as well as the fact Godzilla has worn down dorsal plates and new scars. Also, as for the arguments people use to argue G21 is faster than G19, this argument does not hold up. This is mainly just POVs, and Godzilla pretty much controls how fast or slow he moves. This is supported by the fact in Monarch. Legacy of the Monsters, he looks to be faster than his KOTM self, but this is either Godzilla controlling his speed or visuals. So again, nothing really proves G21 is faster than G19, and most importantly, the argument that everyone uses to prove G21 is above G19, glow. This argument is just wrong on an objective level and is consistently contradicted. For one, it was stated that this feature was specifically made for aesthetics in GVK. Wingard confirms he just wanted a more colorful movie, and the brighter glow was for aesthetics. This doesn't immediately mean it refers to the power. The whole basis for the glow equals power argument came from the novel saying Nuke Amped was stronger as he glowed more. First off, why would glow equals power to every single scenario for Godzilla? That falls under hasty generalization and faulty induction, especially when the glow equals power premise is based on this specific time frame. Glow is stated for intimidation as explained in KOTM when Godzilla does his light show against Monarch when they first encounter him, so glowing more overall is just irrelevant when it comes to power. Glow is more so a sign of a form progressing in power, like we can see with Evolved Godzilla. That does not mean it implies two completely different forms are stronger than the other, only that a specific form is getting stronger. For example, G24 is blatantly stronger than G21 due to 3 extra years of evolution, and he glows less. Before you say lighting can impact the glow's intensity, please understand this argument sucks. For one, even looking at daytime photos, G21 still glows noticeably more. His glow is more white than G24, so by this logic he should be stronger, which is not the case. Now, before you say G21 uses more energy than G24, think again. The whole claim G21 used more energy than G24 is straight up headcanon and not supported at all. He would be using far less energy because he's holding back. So by the logic of those who push the glow equals power agenda, that means G24 should be weaker than G21 regardless, and we know this is not true. Moreover, Evolved Godzilla is 2 times stronger than Energized Godzilla, and yet he glows less. And saying base evolved is condensed to disprove him glowing less than energized being a valid argument is disingenuous. If base evolved is condensed, shouldn't the same apply to Nuke Amped since both have X properties? The energy capacity argument does not hold up. If stability is why evolved didn't glow more than energized, then Nuke Amped should glow like burning. If you headcanon that his energy is exclusively crammed in his dorsals, even though he literally has glow around his body, the same principles would apply to base evolved since his energy is suppressed into that area as well, and he has the same style of glow around his body. So yes, the glow argument cannot be used to argue G21 is above G19 whatsoever. It has too many contradictions to be used. Now that we have disproved G21 being above Nuke Amped, it's time to disprove him being at only 50% full power. So the sentiment that he was only at 50% comes from the statement saying he got half the rest he needed. This statement doesn't really mean anything, does it? All it implies was that he had an awful sleep, not that he is at 50%. Admittedly, he is still below base G19, but he is not at 50% until the Hong Kong fight. This statement does indeed convey G21 is weakened because he didn't hibernate properly, and we know hibernation helps Godzilla grow stronger. But that does not mean he was at 50%. I think it is obvious, but sleep does not scale linearly with your power, so all this statement implies was that G21 is weakened, not he was at 50% full power. Still, we know he was weakened. Half sleep is a state where you're hella groggy and shit. His body was asleep, but his mind was awake. Hibernation is how Godzilla restores himself, hence why he is at full power during KOTM and GXK, but not in GVK as he wasn't in hibernation. We all know by the director that G21 has been weakened throughout the entire film, as he was doing stuff with no breaks whatsoever. Now, although he was weakened, we know it was not by a huge degree. According to a statement by Greg Keyes, he was around close to full power, despite only being half rested. This would mean he was around 75% to 90% full power during the start of GVK. So he is weaker than base G19, but only slightly so. G19 beats G21 with around high to extreme difficulty. The gap isn't so big, but G19 is still more powerful regardless. I will make a more in-depth video on G19 versus G21 later on, but as it stands, G21 is at 75 to 90% full power during the start of GVK. He isn't at full power, but he is close to it. Moving on to G14, he has statements of being just slightly weaker than base G19. It was stated he only bulked up just a little bit, meaning they should be relative in power, so it was confirmed G19 only got slightly stronger after the events of Aftershock.
I still think he's the same Godzilla. He hasn't changed much, but the super fans will probably notice the small incremental changes we've made just to sort of make him look a little tougher, because the Mutos were a tough enemy. That was just him warming up. That was Godzilla stretching. Like, this time he's really got an enemy to face, and he's bulked up a little bit for it as well.
Moreover, both G19 and G14 have narrative above the Muto Prime, and very consistently so. Many people say that, given how there is no quantification on how much stronger G19 got, this means they should be relative. Now, to be fair, this is correct. There is no definitive quantification on how much stronger G19 got, so you can argue G14 is relative to G19. There is nothing stating the gap is so huge, and both have statements of being above Muto Prime, so no huge power increase. It is indeed fair to conclude G14 is comparable to G19, but him being exactly equal is a stretch. A full power G14 is more so 80 to 90% G19's power, not 95%. If Godzilla only got slightly stronger, that would make sense. But Legendary wouldn't make it only a 5% increase. They would obviously make noticeably different, but yet still similar stats. This is even supported by the fact it was stated G14 and G21 are equal, and G21 is also close to G19 in power. So G14 is a lesser G19, or about 80 to 90% his power. He isn't exactly equal, but he is still comparable nonetheless. I know this was very short, but it was pretty basic to explain. There isn't much to go over regarding G14's comparison to G19, unless G21's comparison to G19. So, who would win, G21 or G14? Well, if I had to be completely honest, I'd have G21 winning with extreme difficulty. The argument for G14 winning is that he's comparable to G19, and if I had to be completely honest, this argument is dog-ass. First of all, even if they're relative, G14 would still be 80 to 90% G19, not exactly equal. Second of all, G21 is also relative to G19, so this also destroys the argument. Third of all, even if G14 is at full power, it's on a slightly weaker baseline, while G21 is close to full power on a slightly stronger baseline. So this already blows the argument to pieces. Even if G21 is weakened, his baseline is slightly stronger, and it's confirmed he was close to full power, so he was like 75 to 90%. A full power G14 would be 80 to 90% of full power G19/G24 too. But he is less experienced and skilled. Like, think about it. Slightly weakened on a slightly stronger baseline, but more experienced and skilled versus full power at a slightly weaker baseline, but less experienced and skilled. Additionally, it was even confirmed G21 and G14 are equals, meaning whoever wins is the one who is more experienced and more skilled, and that would be G21. I have G21 from the start of GVK and full power G14 at equal, but G21 would win with extreme difficulty based on experience, skill, and evolution. Therefore, G21 would defeat G14 with extreme difficulty. They're pretty much equal, and this is why experience and skill is basically everything in this scenario. So in summary, G21 would beat G14 with extreme difficulty. The narrative supports them being equal, but G21's passive evolution, experience, and skills grant him the win. Think about it. Slightly below full power on a slightly stronger baseline versus full power on a slightly weaker baseline. This should already make things obvious. Well, that will wrap up the video. I didn't really spend much effort because there isn't much effort to spend to begin with. However, I thought of something simple and quick to make to keep the channel alive. Anyways, I would appreciate if you liked and shared the video. But with all that said, have a good day, everyone.
Oye tus plegarias y manda al gran escuadrón. El Megalodon, se coma ese señor. El Megalodon, se coma ese señor. El Megalodon, se coma tu familia. El Megalodon, que muere con dolor. El Megalodon, se come un millón.